Hello everyone. Today I'm here to talk about cults. The main topic is characteristics of cults and how to leave a cult. All around the world, people are looking for meaning to their lives. Some people turn to religion to find this meaning, and sometimes the religions people turn to end up being cults. To some people, cults offer friendship, connections, identity, and an opportunity to make a contribution to society. Cults often won't tell the truth about their identity to a recruit until that recruit is already very enmeshed within the group and makes it harder to leave. So it's a lot like an abusive relationship in that way. A lot of abusers will start off being perfect and loving, and they suck you in until you get abused. In this presentation, by the end of this presentation, you should recognize characteristics of a cult. You'll know different types of cults. We'll be discussing about 4 famous cults from American history, and you'll know how to leave a cult. So what is a cult? A cult is a group of people who organize around a strong authority figure. Cults attempt to expand their influence for the purposes of money or power. Cults will employ a mixture of influence techniques and deception to attain psychological control over its members, essentially using brainwashing. A person is successfully brought into a cult when they have lost their former identity and it has been replaced with a person the cult leader deems appropriate. Most cults will extort, isolate, coerce, and abuse their members. It is estimated that there are currently as many as 3,000 destructive cults in the US with over 4 million members. So as we'll get to in a little bit, one of the first things you need to do before you leave a cult is to recognize that you are in a cult. Many members of cults, they don't believe that they're actually in a cult. If you're worried about the possibility of yourself or someone you know being in a cult, there are certain characteristics that you can look for. So the group will often display excessive and unquestioning commitment of their leader. So the leader can do anything wrong, which to an outsider would seem very wrong, but the members of the cult have been so brainwashed that they're willing to lie for this person and basically not question anything that he does or says. The leader will also dictate how members should think, feel, and act. So a lot of cult leaders will tell someone how to dress, such as like Mormons. A lot of Mormons dress a certain way from different sects of Mormonism. There'll be rules on what you can and cannot do, stuff like that. Next is mind-altering practices, so things like hypnotherapy or debilitating work routines are used excessively to suppress doubt about the group or leader. A lot of times they'll be used for things like punishment as well. So if you do something against the cult leader or against the group, a lot of times you will be punished with um, work routines or anything like that. Usually a cult will have what they call an us versus them mentality. So it's always going to be me against the world, which is also a lot like an abusive relationship. Um, you have that mentality of we have to stick together because no one else is going to be there for us like we're there for each other. Another common characteristic of a cult is the leader will induce feelings of shame or guilt in order to influence and control members. So the leader will bring up things from the past that a member has done and say, oh, something like, oh, you need to atone for this sort of thing. So that's a good way to control somebody. Often, subservience to the leader or group requires members to cut ties with family and friends. The group won't want any outside influence. They don't want anyone realizing what's actually going on and to be able to tell the member that they're in essentially an abusive relationship with this group. Same with a domestic relationship. As you can see, there's a lot of similarities between abusive relationships and cults. Also, lastly, members are expected to devote a large amount of time and money to the group, especially when you see things like people living in communes. They'll usually give up everything they own to live in this commune, and basically their entire social life is spent on this commune with the group, doing activities with the group. They literally have no or hardly any outside influences, and any money that they do make will go to the group. So there's a lot of different types of cults. So we'll just go through a few of them now. Eastern cults are characterized by belief in spiritual enlightenment and reincarnation, attaining the Godhead and nirvana. The leader will usually draw from and distort Eastern-based religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, things like that. Religious cults are fueled by belief in changing society, revolution, or overthrowing a perceived enemy. The leaders profess to be all-knowing and powerful, and these groups are often armed and very secretive. And usually a religious cult is what we usually hear the most about. There's groups, sects of Mormonism that would be deemed cults. I guess it really depends how you look at a cult. Any religion could be a cult because they all tell you what to do, what to wear, stuff like that. Transformational cults are motivated by belief in striving for the goal of personal improvement. In these groups, the leader is thought of as a life coach. Commercial cults are sustained by belief in attaining wealth and power, status, and quick earnings. The leader is often someone who lives very luxuriously and claims to have found the secret to obtaining wealth. So all of these groups that say, oh, join us and pay this amount of money and devote this amount of much of time into our company, we'll train you how to do financial coaching, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of I can't think of anything right now of an actual company, but there's a lot out there that you'll see. I think Western Financial is the company that I'm thinking of, actually. Next, New Age cults. New Age cults are founded on the belief that you are your own God. Empowered through internal knowledge, wanting to know the future, or finding the quick fix to life. The leaders usually represent themselves as mystical, ultra-spiritual beings. You have a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
Where would you categorize Scientology?
I'm actually going to be talking about Scientology. I would personally put it as a New Age cult. It's really it's a hard one because they can also be put under commercial cults as well, I think, and religious cults. So I don't know, it's hard to say with Scientology. That's just a whole mixture of interesting things.
A whole different video.
Yes. Occults or satanic cults are generated through belief in supernatural powers and sometimes the worship of Satan or other gods, goddesses. For satanic cult, the leader will usually profess to be evil incarnate. Animal sacrifices and physical and sexual abuse are very common in these cults. So now we're moving on to the famous cults in U.S. history. So there's a lot of them, but we're only going to focus on 4 right now. So we're going to start with the Manson family. So Charles Manson founded the family in San Francisco in 1967. Manson prophesied that America would have a race war that he named Helter Skelter, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. Manson's plan for the family was to hide out during this war and then emerge afterwards to lead the victors, which he thought would actually be the African Americans. So he wanted to lead the African Americans. Manson ordered killings that were to be blamed on African Americans in order to help instigate this prophesized race war, and 9 people were murdered. A few of them celebrities, and Manson still has followers. He still is leading his cult from prison, actually. Next, we have Heaven's Gate. In March of 1997, 39 members of Heaven's Gate cult killed themselves in hopes of reaching a spaceship, which was thought to be following the Hale-Bopp comet. I remember when I was a kid, the Hale-Bopp comet was quite a big deal. I did not know it was being followed by a spaceship, however. The founders of this group were Marshall Applewhite and his nurse, Bonnie Nettles. Applewhite reportedly had a near-death experience and had a vision which spawned the group. The entire group committed suicide by taking cyanide and arsenic, phenobarbital mixed with pineapple juice and vodka. This was a failure. This next one was a fairly high-profile mass suicide. People's Temple. So the leader of People's Temple was Jim Jones, one of the most infamous cult leaders in American history. The group had influences from the Pentecostal church. After an expose on the cult was published, it did not make the group look good at all. So Jones moved the cult to Guyana, South America. When U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan flew to Guyana to meet with Jones, he was actually killed by Jones's people. Now, Jim Jones knew that he would have to answer for the murder of Leo Ryan. He decided to go out the best way, most dramatic way that he could figure out, with a mass suicide. So 900 members of the People's Temple drank poison mixed with Kool-Aid. And there was some evidence afterwards that many of them were forced to drink the Kool-Aid by gunpoint. And next we have Scientology. So Scientology was founded in 1952 by a science fiction author, L. Ron Hubbard. And it was based on Hubbard's system of Dianetics. Dianetics essentially was supposed to be an alternative to modern psychology. Scientologists believe that people are immortal alien beings that have forgotten their true nature and are trapped in Earth in a human body. It is believed that people can free themselves of their human form by attending a series of classes and teachings of the church, which, by the way, are extremely expensive. There have been many complaints from former members about the intimidation tactics this cult uses to keep their secrets, including lawsuits and isolation. This certain cult is pretty high profile just because of all the celebrities involved. People like Tom Cruise, Will Smith is a Scientologist. So you hear about that one quite frequently. So a cult can be very difficult to leave. The degree of difficulty in leaving it itself is a sign that the group is a cult. A true convert is often completely dependent on the cult for every aspect of life. And leaving means being alone and starting over, which can be terrifying. Many people do not know who they are anymore without their cult identity. Some converts may not have even made a single decision for themselves in years. It takes a tremendous amount of will and determination to leave a cult. There are several steps that can be taken in leaving. The cultist must first recognize that they are in a cult. If they feel the need to escape the group, then it probably is a cult. They must think about the reasons they want to leave as well. Is the cult abusive or oppressive? Does the person want to regain contact with the outside world? The departure should be planned. If the person is in a cult that lives on a compound, the person should try to take advantage of any outings the group may have outside the compound. The member should definitely seek outside assistance, someone not involved with the cult at all. You should be prepared for attempts from the group to get them back into the group. And also keep in mind that once you leave the group, you're going to be despised by the group members because they'll ultimately see it as a sign of betrayal. If the exiting member was a part of a cult with a lot of indoctrination, they should expect some emotional withdrawal. And this person should definitely seek professional counseling. Being in a cult can do a lot of damage to a person mentally and emotionally. Many cults use mind control to keep their members under control. Leaders will take advantage of feelings like guilt and fear. In many situations, being in a cult takes on many different forms of abuse, and it is a fact that there are many ex-cultists that suffer from things like PTSD, which can make leaving even harder. If the person is able to stick to their decision to leave, they need to know that eventually everything will be okay. The person must be willing to acquire new life skills and believe in new teachings. With a lot of self-care and education, life outside a cult can become more rewarding than a person could imagine.